All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the special meeting for the Montgomery Independent School District Board of Trustees. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. All right, Ms. Alcantara, are there any public comments? There are none, so the board will go into closed session for the reasons listed on our agenda. We will be back shortly. In the meeting, there are no action items to take from that session, that portion of the meeting, so I would like to adjourn the closed session. This is the September 20th, 2022 regular meeting of the Montgomery Independent School District Board of Trustees. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. Dr. Morrison, do we have any special recognitions or presentations?
We have some very, very special recognitions. We have our students, we have our teachers, and then we have everybody else that supports our teachers. And we have folks that if they were not doing the amazing things that they do daily at the level of professionalism, care, and excellence, we would not be a school district that is aspiring to be premier. And not only do they do their important duties every day with excellence and passion, but when challenges arise, they go above and beyond. And we're just really excited to have some recognitions for some folks that really always do great things for our school district, our students, and our teachers, but especially with some recent challenges have just really shown up at important times. So we're going to recognize a few different groups, and I think we're going to start off with Chris doing the first recognition.
Good afternoon. It's my privilege to be here this afternoon and to...
There we go. It's my privilege to be here this afternoon and get to recognize a group of outstanding individuals from my staff in the finance department. As Dr. Morrison said, going through this transition, these transitions are never easy, but this one has been a little more difficult than we had anticipated. But we have such a wonderful staff in our department. They have consistently gone above and beyond what's been asked of them. Most of the time they are solving problems even before we know as administrators that a problem exists. And so just wanted to take a couple of minutes and bring them up and introduce them to you. I will start today with our payroll department. We do have one member, Ms. Kelsey Pessel, who is out ill today and couldn't be here, but we thank Kelsey for her time and service. Kelly Cole, our payroll supervisor, has put in an untold number of hours, late nights, mornings, weekends. Kelly, come forward. Don't be shy. Y'all are here for a reason. Then as we move into our accounts payable and purchasing departments, our purchasing supervisor, Michelle Jilick, making sure that all of our purchase orders and purchasing aspects of the district continue in the new system. Lisa Sowers, one of our purchasing specialists. And then Miss Renee Kremheller, also one of our purchasing specialists. And so these wonderful folks from the finance department have continued, as I said, to go above and beyond, and we could not have gotten employees paid and things bought without each and every one of them. So I'm extremely grateful to be associated with these people.
we're gonna recognize a number of different, so if our finance would come over here, don't go anywhere, because they love being in the spotlight. They enjoy every single second of this. All right, and I believe next we're going to have Denise.
Dr. Morrison, Dr. Fuller, and members of the board, I'd like to recognize my HR team. It just so happens that September 26th is Human Resource Professional Day, and then Governor Abbott just recently announced that October 12th would also be Texas Education Human Resources Day. So this is a good time to be able to talk a little bit about my team. We too have been very busy this summer. Our team affectionately calls it the 2 years of summer. Just to kind of give you an overview of what our summer looked like, our team onboarded over 200 new full-time employees over the summer. Most recently, over the last month, we've onboarded 70 new substitutes. Beginning last spring, they began their training with Skyward, the setup, the migrating of employee information, and that continues and will continue through the school year. And then, if that wasn't enough, we moved to 2 paychecks a month, which has also affected both human resources and the finance department. So it's been a very busy time. So I would like to recognize my gals. First, I'd like to introduce Caitlin Nichols, our compensation analyst. Next, Teresa Tipton, our Employee Relations and Benefits Coordinator. We have Carol Reisig, our Absence Management Coordinator. We have Beverly Harrod, our Certification Specialist. We have Diane Tomlinson, our HR Specialist. And then, I don't know, is Teresa Blackwell here? Oh, she's up front. Okay, we have Teresa Blackwell, our administrative assistant, that's up front. And then we have Tiffany San Miguel, who is our new ESC receptionist. So thank you, ladies, for all of your hard work.
Then we have Dr. Busby.
All right, I have the pleasure of introducing 2 fabulous groups this afternoon. We will start with our Student Services Department, our Student Information System. This transition to Skyward has been an exciting journey, but it has been a very time-consuming journey. And these 2 individuals have put in numerous hours, weekends, night. They're very dedicated. One of our individuals, I think she probably doesn't sleep because she thinks of anticipates a problem and tries to get ahead of it, and has just worked tremendously hard to try to make this as smooth as possible as we've worked out and learned all these new things. And this didn't start this summer. This was work that we began last year, second semester. They were learning the new system, but finishing the year on the old system, and then continuing to help make that transition as we go. So a very, very special thank you and appreciation to our 2 individuals, our PEAMS coordinator, Sarah Swasta, and our PEAMS assistant, Linda Bailey. Thank you, ladies. The next department who has had a huge role in this transition has been our technology department. And I'm going to go ahead and have Ms. Amanda Davis Somerville work her way up here. She has led this charge from the time that we put this idea on the plate. Probably last summer, the idea started swirling. As we worked through that strategic plan, this became one of those focuses. And so she took that, helped decide with a team of people what direction we were going, and then has played a big part in leading this group in these changes. And so the number of hours that herself and her team has dedicated to this has been tremendous, and we very much appreciate all of your hard work and your team's hard work. So I'm going to let her introduce the rest of her team.
All right, I'm going to start with our Infrastructure and Operations Manager, Mr. Lewis Summer. Our IT Project Manager, David Crow. Educational Technology Coordinator, Diana Teal. We have two of our sysadmins that are out, Crystal Gentry and Joe Dukes. They were huge in helping get all of the migrations to happen. Mario Stewart, he is our IT specialist, operations specialist. Matt Keating is his counterpart and is also absent today. We have Miranda Irvine. If you do not know her, have not gotten an email from her, be lucky. She has been the one to completely take on Skyward since last spring, and we could have not done this without her. Jennifer Duffer, she is our Innovative Learning Specialist. She is the face of our technology right now for all of our teachers. And then we have all of our campus technicians. So we have, man, I just drew a blank on your name. Kyle Smith, sorry. Timothy Greer, Cameron Knoll, and Adriana Tottenham. Correct?
And we are going to ask everyone to come together. I just want to publicly say how much we appreciate what every one of these really heroes and sheroes have been doing. As we were very upfront with the board, as we started to talk last year about a transition with the new SIS and Enterprise, anyone who goes into this thinking it's going to be easy, without challenge, without some Herculean obstacles that you're going to have to overcome, is not being honest and is not being thoughtful about that process. They're challenging processes, but you know when you have good people, this group anticipates every challenge that it can, always tries to do right by our employees and our students and our families. And honestly, from getting paychecks in on time to all the things that have to happen with PEEMS and TEA reporting, to getting people hired, to every aspect. And really, it's not only with the transition to a new student information system. Usually as a board, you only hear about these people when someone's upset about something. And so the fact that you don't hear anything about them is a testimony to the excellence that they do all the time. But we wanted to acknowledge them, not just for the great work that they've been doing with this transition, but for what they do for Montgomery ISD each and every day. So thank you deeply.
One quick thing. I forgot to mention it's also IT Professionals Day. So beyond Skyward, which, that used to not be the big piece of the job, there's so much other things that our technology department does. So we appreciate everything, all scopes of the position that y'all have. Thank you.
All right. Let's get you all together, and we're going to do a big picture.
Thank you. What?
I whispered up there, if he falls, I'm going to kill him. I've had 4 workers' comp injuries today.
Oh, no. Oh, no. I wouldn't get hurt. I wouldn't get hurt. Wouldn't get hurt. Me? Probably.
All
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for all that you do to activate and energize our school district. Y'all do a great amount of work, so thank you very much. All right, moving on. Are there any public comments? There are no registered public comments, so we'll move into the consent agenda. Board members, does any board member wish to pull a consent agenda item? Hearing none, then I will hear a recommendation to present the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, Mr. Dennison has motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Turner, second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed and abstained? The consent agenda carries as presented. Action items. Action item 6A, consider approval of nominee for the vacancy of the MCAD Board of Directors as presented. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Adam Simmons has for a number of years served on the Montgomery County Appraisal District Board of Directors. He was a nominee from the Montgomery ISD School District. Mr. Simmons is no longer on that board. He has taken a different address and is therefore not in the district anymore, and the school district gets to appoint a person.
Get to nominate.
We get to nominate an individual. I would like to nominate a person that we know from the school district. I would like to put forward Mr. Gary Hammond's name. My reasons for this is Mr. Hammonds has worked on the school board. He would make a strong commitment, a strong individual on this Montgomery County Appraisal District Board of Directors. He has the financial background and the understanding to do that. Hearing that, ladies and gentlemen, are there any questions? All right, I would like to motion then that we nominate Mr. Gary Hammonds for the Montgomery County Appraisal District Board of Directors. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Porton is my second on that. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed and abstained, that motion carries. We will put that forward to the Montgomery County Appraisal District Board of Directors for their final vote. Action item 6B, consider approval of construction manager at risk for package B. This aligns with goal 3.
And we have Chris Lynn, our Assistant Superintendent Finance Operations. It will be the Chris Lynn show for most of our action items tonight. So Chris, hand it over to you.
Yeah, I apologize, but before we can start building stuff, we have to get some of this administrative work behind us. So we are asking you this evening to approve the construction manager at risk for package B. And remember, package B is the CTE and Ag Science Center. And so like everything we do in Montgomery ISD, there is a process. This started with a request for qualifications that were issued in on August 8th. We had a pre-submittal conference where anyone who was interested could attend and ask any questions that they needed. Qualifications were to be turned in August 31st. We had 9 firms who submitted and who were interested in doing business with MISD. We scored those qualifications based on the criteria in the RFQ. We selected 2 firms to move forward in the process. That involved not only submitting cost data, but also in-person interviews. Those in-person interviews were conducted on Monday, September the 12th by MISD staff, as well as representatives from Huckabee Architects. And so out of that process, we are here tonight to recommend Stewart Builders for the construction manager at risk for package B. Just a little bit about Stewart. They were founded in 1992. Their proposed team that will be working with Montgomery ISD has over 100 years of construction experience in the K-12 environment. Some of their more recent projects include Brazos Wood High School and a CTE center at Brazos Wood High School, renovation of Channelview High School, and a CTE center addition. They were part of the Katy ISD Ag Science Center construction and have also done some CTE renovations in Sweeney ISD. So we are bringing them forward to you tonight. I feel that they are more than qualified to help us with this project moving forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, any questions? All right, hearing no questions, then is there a motion for action item 6B?
I'll move to approve Stewart Builders as CM at risk for Package B consisting of the CTE and Ag Science Center and to authorize administration to finalize the necessary contract documents.
All right, Mr. Kirby, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Hopkins is the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed and abstained, that motion carries. Action item 6C, consider approval of construction manager at risk for Package C.
So this is same activity, just for Montgomery Junior High, Lincoln Elementary, and Montgomery Elementary School. So the timeline was the same. We had the same RFQ process. This time we had 6 firms who submitted qualifications. 3 firms were asked to proceed to step 2. Followed the same process of cost data and in-person interviews. And tonight we are recommending Marshall Construction. Marshall Construction was founded in 1927, so they are going on their 95th year. Their 4th generation of family ownership. So obviously the Marshall Construction name and brand is extremely important to them. They've completed over 200 educational projects, of which 40 of them are renovations. You'll notice I just listed just a couple of the districts that they do a lot of work for, Conroe, Klein, Fort Bend, and Willis. So you see they have done work here in our local area as well. And so we are asking for you to approve Marshall Construction as the construction manager for Package C.
Any questions? I'm very impressed by their length of time, their family operation. I think that's a great choice on our part. If there are no questions, then is there a motion?
I recommend the board approve Marshall Construction as the construction manager at risk for Package C, which are the renovations to Montgomery Junior High, Lincoln Elementary, and Montgomery Elementary, and to authorize administration to finalize the necessary contract documents.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Robb, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That motion carries unanimously. All right, consider approval of construction delivery method for bond projects as presented.
So to keep this bond train rolling, we are asking for you to approve the delivery method for Package D. And so this package will be the renovations to Montgomery High School and to the athletic facilities. So as you remember, because you've done this multiple times by now, but this delivery method is required by board policy CV local. You have multiple methods to choose from. Competitive sealed proposals and construction manager at risk are often the 2 most commonly used. Remember, competitive sealed proposals is more like a bid type format where once the drawings are complete, we go out for bid and get a price. Construction manager at risk, remember that contractor joins the design team early and sits in the design meetings and provides input into the design of the building, constructability, materials, all of those types of things. In this market, we have found that CM tends to be a better process to use because we can get out ahead of things early. We can issue early packages to purchase items that are long lead time and have delivery schedule implications. So tonight we're asking you to approve construction manager at risk as the delivery method for Package D.
Ladies and gentlemen, are there any questions? Hearing no questions, then, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve construction manager at risk as the construction delivery method for Package D, renovations to MHS and athletic facilities.
And thank you, Ms. Porton. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Dennison. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed and abstained? That motion carries. Action item 6E, discuss and consider approval of resolution authorizing purchase of approximately 20 acres located near Lake Creek High School at the address provided. This aligns with Goal 3. Mr. Lynn.
Yes, so as the board is aware, we've been in a lot of conversations for land and where Elementary 7 will ultimately be built. So we are coming to you tonight asking you to approve this resolution to allow us to enter into this contract for 20 acres in very close proximity to Lake Creek High School that will ultimately be the home of Elementary number 7. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Lynn, I understand that from prior board meetings, we've gone through our due diligence phase on this. Can you describe that a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. So we have conducted a wetlands investigation to make sure that there were no waters of the U.S. or any water formations on the site that would prevent us from building. That came back clear. There are no issues there. We also did a phase 1 environmental assessment to make sure that there were no historical issues or endangered species or anything like that on the site that would once again prevent us from building on this site. That came back clear as well. We've also had a preliminary survey of the site done. We are waiting to finalize that until a title commitment is issued, just because we need to make sure of the exact boundary locations of the railroad. That's the only reason why the survey has not been finalized. So all of our due diligence measures have checked out, and so we have no concerns with this piece of property at this time.
Okay, thank you. Board members, are there other questions? Purchasing land for a school is a big decision, and you know, this is your opportunity to ask anything if you've got anything.
I think it's been covered over the past few weeks. They've kept us extremely informed and during open and closed sessions of what we're doing in the negotiations, so I'm comfortable with where it's at.
All right, thank you, Mr.
Just to remind everybody why that spot in particular is a great spot for this elementary school.
Sure. As we were going through the bond development process and talking to our community and going through that process last fall, we talked about the need to relieve the overcrowding at Keenan Elementary School as well as Stewart Creek Elementary School. So this location allows us to accomplish both of those tasks. Preliminarily, obviously we have not adjusted any attendance boundaries yet, but this location will allow us to pull students from Stewart Creek as well as from Keenan to help reduce that overcrowding that those campuses are experiencing.
And it's also like a safer location, being off the main highway.
Sure, yeah, so it is going to sit back off of the road. Ultimately, you will still take the same entrance that you would to go to Lake Creek High School. However, the road will kind of split, so you would take a left to go to Lake Creek, and you would continue going forward to get to the new elementary school. So it is way off the road, and ultimately we anticipate will be part of a larger development. So yes, we like the location, the security, not being on 2854 or any other major thoroughfare.
Mr. Lynn, last question I have is not divulging any specifics. Are you happy with the financial arrangements for this transaction?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, just to make sure everybody understands, this was a line item in the 2022 bond program. So there was $15 million allocated to purchase land for multiple sites. This is one of those sites. And yes, we feel like that is a very fair price that we're paying. And so yes, we are happy from a financial aspect.
All right. Hearing that, ladies and gentlemen, any other questions? All right. Who would like to make a motion on action item 6E?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of 20 acres for Elementary 7.
Thank you, Mr. Robb. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dennison seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Congratulations. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's
Thank
a
you.
great decision.
Mr. Lynn, before you leave, Dr. Fuller, I think we missed someone on the last action item. Could you just kind of go over the turf, and so we can approve that as well.
Sure. In addition to the high school athletic facilities, in the bond package, there are replacement of turf for the Montgomery High School and Lake Creek High School baseball and softball fields. We want to go CSP for those two activities. We feel like we can get a better price. There's no reason to involve a middleman in that. There's a limited number of vendors who are going to supply that turf anyway. So we feel like that's a better value to the district, is to go CSP for those artificial turf replacements.
Thank you, Mr. Kirby and Mr. Lynn. Are there questions on the bond prep delivery method style for the turf? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll move to approve competitive sealed proposals, construction delivery for the turf projects at MHS and Lake Creek.
Thank you, Mr. Kirby. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And Ms. Turner, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstained. And thank y'all for catching that. Y'all have obviously done your homework, so thanks. Mr. Lynn, I think we're good, right?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
All right. Next up, action item 6F, consider approval of a purchase over $50,000 for Hey Tutor.
Right, thank you. So we have looked at some different opportunities to provide some additional tutoring to our students. And so we're going to talk a little bit about Hey Tutor. This was part of our T-Class grant, is how we refer to it. That is the Texas COVID Learning Acceleration Supports. So last year, this was introduced by the state of Texas as a way for us to get additional funds to support our students, and we were awarded funds for targeted supports to address that accelerated student learning. And so in T-Class, there's lots of different areas that you can use the grant for, and we did apply for multiple areas to use the grant. But tonight, we're just talking about one of those areas, and it is this one. It is about more time. And while we can't get more time in the day, it would be really nice if I could increase the amount of hours, but this is a way for us to use our staff more efficiently and to get more tutoring hours to our students. And one of those options is a vendor called Hey Tutor to provide additional tutoring. And so TEA vetted the different vendors, and they approved them for either in-person or for virtual tutoring. And we looked through those selected vendors, and after going through the different options available, we did choose to go with Hey Tutor, or we would like to go with Hey Tutor. And this would give us the opportunity to do virtual tutoring. So this would still be during the school day. It could be during a lab time, to where maybe we have one teacher in there, but we have students on different subjects. But this allows them to have a real person interacting with them and tutoring them in these different subjects. And so it gives us a more efficient use of our time in those settings. We could also expand this to after-school tutoring, before-school tutoring, summer school, lots of different options. So this proposal is for the grant amount that we were awarded, and then we'll have that option to use those funds to address those different settings, which initially will start with the lab setting in school scheduled during the day. So I would like to recommend that you approve that purchase for Hey Tutor services for our virtual tutoring, and this would be just at secondary level. We would not be doing this at the elementary level, just for the older students, starting with junior high. And so with that, questions?
I have a question. What was the process to determine who we selected? Why did we like Hey Tutor, and how many options are there in the virtual world?
Right, so our curriculum department and our specialists went through the different vendors, had different meetings set up with them to where they could talk about their product and how the product was used, whether or not we could do virtual, what subjects they had, if they did in person, and just let each of the vendors kind of talk about their package that they had available. And that team of specialists, and I believe she has some principals on that committee as well too. This was actually led by our curriculum department, Meg Evans. So they went through all of that, and at the end, this was the vendor that they felt met our needs the best.
And you said there's some one-on-one, is that done via Zoom? Or,
Yes.
okay, so they're gonna be actually with that person during that time?
Yes, and then there will still be an adult one of our MISD employees in the room while this is happening.
And what's the route or how will students find out that this is available?
So there is working with the different campuses, we're going through and looking at certain subjects. We're starting with reading. That seemed to be the area that the campuses wanted to focus on, that we had the highest need for, that we thought we would benefit the most from that in-person contact, or the real person contact. And so we're going to start with reading, and junior high seemed to be the highest level. So we're focusing on reading junior high. And then we're working with them to determine which students kind of best fit that need. These students are probably already getting tutoring within a lab period, maybe doing an online program. So this would be another layer where they would just get that person where they could communicate with and work with.
Do we have to renew it every year?
This is something that we wouldn't renew every year, but once the grant funds are expended, then that would be it.
I guess they log how many hours we use. It's $40 an hour.
Yes.
They have a
Yeah,
record.
so we are actually working on developing a schedule, and so as we each semester that we use them, we'll kind of present the schedule, and like this semester we're going to use this amount of the hours and this amount of the funding. Then we'll revisit that for the next semester and until we've exhausted the funds.
And there are numerous companies that provide any number of services, and so this is a nice opportunity for us to start looking at this and figure out how this might evolve into our plan. There are companies that do after hours tutoring, accelerated tutoring for enrichment classes. So there's an exciting different ways that we might think about this in the future, but for now, this really addresses the requirements under House Bill 4545. And we have funding for it, so we can't always say that.
Other questions? Dr. Busby, if we're unhappy with a tutor, who makes the call that we would not use that tutor again?
That's a great question. So that's something that we will follow up then with our campus administrators. Since we do have an employee in the room, they'll be able to be right there and be able to be that first-hand response if there are any concerns. But then as soon as we are made aware of that, we can address it with the company.
Great. Well, thank y'all for keeping an employee in the room and for doing that. So, any other questions?
Is this going to be the same folks every time, or is it just a network of people that,
Great
as far
question.
as the tutoring goes?
Yeah. So no, when we get the schedule together, that schedule will be set up with certain tutors. So that child will be assigned, and we'll have that same tutor each time that they
So
log
they'll
in.
see the same face every time? Okay.
Great question, Mr. Robb. Ladies and gentlemen, any other questions? All right, then is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to purchase Hey Tutor.
The motion to purchase Hey Tutor is made by Mr. Dennison. Is there a second? Mr. Hopkins. All right, is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained? That motion carries. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Dr. Busby.
Thank you, Dr. Busby.
All right, next up is our action item 6G. Consider approval of purchase over $50,000 for technology infrastructure and upgrades and technology device bond items alignment with Goal 3. I bet we're going to hear from Ms. Davis-Summerman.
Yes, we are. And just to kind of set the stage for this, as the board knows, but to share with our community, we had 3 proposals in the 2022 bond, one of which is a very exciting initiative that will allow us to personalize learning with enhanced opportunities for digital experiences. And obviously, the infrastructure that accompanies that is very important, but so too are the devices. Probably the most requested question I get as I go out to campuses and interact with our teachers is, when is our school up first? It's like, how do you know your school's up first? And they're like, I asked the question the right way. When are we going to be told we're first? Not everyone can be first. We love all our schools, but there has to be a schedule and process. And what makes this particularly challenging is that we want to limit the opportunity we're coming on to do great things on each campus, but not disrupt and come out one time to do facility upgrades, one time to do comparability, another time to do infrastructure. And so we're really trying to do this on a schedule that makes sense, that is as least disruptive as possible, but deliver all of the things that are in the 2022 bond. What we want to do tonight is share with you that initial proposed schedule, and then propose to you a way we want to be able to do this as quickly and as efficiently as possible, because as you may have heard, there's this little thing called the Global Supply Chain Challenge that continues, especially in areas of technology, to prove a huge obstacle. So under Amanda's strong leadership with her team, not only are we embarking on our SIS conversion, but all things digital conversion. So Amanda, to you.
Thank you, Dr. Morrison, Dr. Fuller. So tonight we're going to be talking about prepping our 21st century classroom. All right, so this aligns with our strategic plan for goals 1 through 4. Goal 1, our initiative there is to provide increased technology in the classrooms by 2024, to constantly improve our cybersecurity monitoring and making sure that our network in our schools are safe, provide a end-of-life and life cycling plan for goal 3, and then, of course, robust professional development for all of our employees. Our first focus is going to be on increasing student devices inside of the classroom. In order to do this, we're going to be looking at putting iPads for students early elementary through 2nd grade, Chromebook carts at 3rd through 5th, and one-to-one assignment of devices 6th through 12th. This way our students, when they are with us for a full 12 years, have a variety of access to devices and can learn in many different ways depending on what they need for their soft skills at the time. Introducing an increase of devices into our classrooms is a critical part of creating that stimulating learning environment and making sure that we are aligning with what they would use in their personal lives on a daily basis. It allows us to automate through our learning management system that we adopted last spring with Canvas, and it allows us to foster that collaborative learning while allowing our teachers to still maintain a little bit of classroom management with some of the other programs that we have implemented this summer.
Amanda, can you go back one second? So for 6 through 12, we can easily recognize the Chromebook. What's that behind the Chromebook?
That is just going to be a cart. So there will be a cart assigned to every 3rd through 5th grade classroom.
The 6 through 12 behind the...
That is going to be a carrying case. So each student will be responsible for making sure that they bring their device charged and ready to go for learning that day.
So those are Chromebooks at the secondary also?
We have not made that determination. A lot of what they are learning on are web-based applications, and so it's kind of trying to decide between what they need for CTE to make sure that they have the device that they need for that, and also making sure that it's financially sustainable for us as well. So right now they are going to be assigned Windows machines.
So anybody that knows me, Ms. Davis Somerville, knows that I'm not technology advanced. And I'm going to probably butcher this question, but in the elementary, the lower grades, and even 3rd through 5th, how will we know from year to year how many we need? Are we going to have to buy more each year, things like that?
So for early elementary through 5th grade, it's going to be based on the class size. So if there are 24 students assigned to a class, then they will probably have about 26 assigned to their classroom, just so that way if there is one that's broken or one needs to be assigned for a student to take home, it can be.
Okay.
And then 6th through 12th will be every student gets assigned. And then there will be extras in the libraries and in classrooms as well, just in case that happens where you are needing to do a test that day online and the kid forgets their device.
You know, I'm glad you say that, and I'm sorry to interrupt. I know you have a presentation, but, you know, as you were going on the previous slide, I don't think we've had a slide that has hit 4 goals, something that has hit 4 goals before. And I was sitting here thinking that's a real high impact decision we could make. And now I see why. This is going to be a significant investment in technology for our district. So thank y'all for bringing it forward. I have a lot more questions, but I'll reserve them till the end.
I was going to say, you can keep going. The big piece of that instruction is going to be that classroom management piece. We implemented a digital kind of classroom management platform this summer and trained all of our teachers on it in the back to school in-service. And so they've been able to start utilizing that when they're doing digital assignments. And we've gotten really great responses with that. So we started early before we got devices into kids' hands, starting to train our teachers. Any other questions?
No, ma'am.
All
I'll
right.
shut up.
And again, just to brag on Amanda and her team, but having worked with numerous school districts, both as a public school colleague and on the private sector side, there are many ways that school districts do wholesale district digital conversion. You do it wrong when you fail to do professional development. You do it wrong when you don't have the infrastructure. And you definitely do it wrong when you think it's all about the devices. And so the plan that Amanda has worked on with her team and so many different stakeholders really does look at each step that needs to come first. And thinking through the professional development, thinking through the strategy, the application, thinking through the infrastructure, then getting to the devices. So that this is not being driven by the choice of device, but it's being driven by what's going to enhance learning and meet the needs of our students.
So our 3-year rollout plan is going to start by increasing technology devices for the spring of 2023. This is going to be the first year that all of our campuses are going to be required to test online. So that was a big milestone for us to make sure that our campuses were ready for that. And then in order to make a sustainable model, we can't order everything at once. So we're having to kind of piecemeal it and I tried to outline it based on which campus was going to get those infrastructure upgrades. So that way, when they got new devices, they would also see that increase of speed, or they would see that good connectivity when we got to their network closets. Any questions on this one?
Do we foresee any issues, I know, with the supply chain and where it's at? Do we foresee any issues with delivery of these dates?
Not on these. We're looking at about 8-week delivery time right now to get it onto a campus and delivered out. Yep. All right, so the next part, we're going to go into our infrastructure pieces. The reason why I brought this forward tonight is because of that supply chain issue. Right now, we are anywhere from 6 months to 8 months behind on being able to get supply for some of these pieces. And so we want to make sure that we are ready for this summer when we are upgrading our campuses, and that we have product in hand so they're not waiting on us to finish out those facility upgrades. So part of this is going to be our network updates. This is going to allow us to close some security gaps that we have noticed. We had a network assessment done, and there were some security gaps, not as many as most districts or companies even, but we do have things that we want to make sure that we are keeping secure. This will also help improve our wireless coverage. Most of our devices are outdated, and so we cannot have a full range with our access points as we would like, and so this is going to have that increased frequency for them. And then also allow for faster network performance as we go through and we start making changes to our network as far as different pathways that people connect. The next piece for our facility upgrades is going to be our classroom and campus enhancements. This is going to start with PA systems. All but 3 of our campuses are going to need to have upgraded PA and bell systems. We would like for them to all be on the same one, so that way we can make sure that if it needs to be worked on, we have one vendor, we have one person that we contact. This also allows us to do an IP bell system as well, so that way campuses can make sure that they are on top of their bell schedules if they need to do a shortened one, or play It's Taco Tuesday over the bell system as they're dismissing, they can. It's also going to allow us to put in our SPED classrooms and our early childhood through 2nd grade, the voice amplification, so that way our students have, who might have difficulty hearing or paying attention, will have a little bit more enhancements. And then it also allows us to provide emergency alerts to all of our touch and non-touch displays and intercoms throughout the building. And then the last piece that we're going to be looking at is going to be putting in interactive panels into all of our classrooms and document cameras as well. This is going to promote that collaborative learning. We want to get the teacher away from sitting at a desk and only being stationary, want them up and moving. And this piece allows them to turn over the learning for their students, put it in the students' hands versus them having to sit stationary at a desk. It also promotes authentic communication skills because you have those ways of being able to collaborate. I can put up students' work if I'm walking around and I see something that we either need to address or something that I want to praise. And then it, again, creates that mobile environment for our teachers. And that is it for me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, are there any questions?
On the inventory, well, so the teachers will be responsible for keeping up with their inventory, who they assign out and everything?
If you're talking about to take home, we would like for it to go through the library to be able to check out first. So that way we make sure that we are keeping track of it. Our librarians know that it's coming, that they're going to be responsible for part of that inventory system. And then if we exhaust those, then yes, it will be on the classroom.
And as far as turnaround on work tickets for any problems, they'll just submit a work ticket like anything else, and then y'all will come to the campus to do
So we have been looking at different help desk models that allow for parents and students to submit tickets as well. So that way when they do have a problem at home, they have a way to contact us or to get support when we're back in session during the work week.
What's the protocol going to be in terms of lost, stolen, damaged equipment? Is there a monetary value that the student is signing off to, or?
So this is going to be part of those continuing tech advisory council conversations. Before we put any of these devices on campuses, we want to make sure that our campus principals and campus admin are very comfortable with that model, because they're going to be the ones that are going to be enforcing those fees. So either it's a warranty that we decide on that we're going to allow parents to purchase every year, or it's going to be a monetary fee that the campus or the district decides on that's going to be charged if those machines are damaged or lost. But that, for me, is not a decision to make in a silo. I want to make sure that our campuses are very much involved in those implementation plans.
I think it's really cool that we're going to be cross-training on all these different devices over the years, because I'm kind of like Matt. I just don't.
We want to make sure that we sprinkle some of those devices around. So even at the high school level, having iPads on that campus to where you can go and make videos, or you can go and make different 3D projects if you want to. That's going to be a checkout system for the teacher versus, having to use your cell phone. That's your personal device, and having work stored on there.
Thanks.
Well, I have a question about that then, if you don't mind. I have two questions. One of them is about purchasing. We'll ask that one later. But so we're really just the philosophy of giving students devices and such. What are we doing to, if there's something on the computer that shouldn't be on the computer and things of that nature? How do we, once we give it to them, do we have any control or protection what's on the computer?
We do. So all of those machines are going to be one imaged with our image. We're going to monitor everything that they do. Right now, they can only log in to Google Chrome, and that's for a reason. So that way we can monitor their internet activity. If you would like to know more, you're more than welcome to come on Thursday.
Challenge accepted.
That has a warning sign on it, if you
We will
want to.
be sharing with our principals on Thursday that exact question in terms of how we monitor appropriate student use. Our devices, technology, infrastructure, and platforms are to enhance education and for no other purpose. And so we are putting in programs that will allow us to make sure that we can stand behind appropriate use of that technology while utilizing it for Montgomery ISD. We will, once we finalize plans with our administrators, we will be sending home a letter to communicate to parents, and we did this last year during Digital Citizenship Week. But we will be sharing with them the protocols and programs that we'll be putting in to enhance this security and to ask parents to talk to their students about appropriate use. 98% of our students, probably 99% of our students will do exactly the appropriate thing all the time, but 2% of close to 10,000 students can get noticed very quickly, and it will get noticed and it will get dealt with. So we're going to ask, it's just like the vape detectors. We will say, this is when it's online, this is what it does. We don't want to discover anything happening at school that should not be happening at school. So more to come on that, and we will be updating the board prior to that launch.
And based on SIPA regulations, we are required to monitor all student activity when we give them a username and password to log into different systems, third-party systems. So we actively monitor everything that they log into.
Excellent.
Everything that they log into.
So what happens in the event somebody doesn't have Wi-Fi access at home? I mean, are they going to be cellular activated?
The devices are not going to be. In the past, we have done educational learning devices, so the MiFis, for that purpose. We have also started putting in Wi-Fi on our buses. We had a select few of our buses, so if students are riding buses home, they have the ability to access that Wi-Fi and do their homework on the bus as well. As far as the Wi-Fi at home piece, that is another component that we are looking into, just so that way we can make it sustainable, because it comes down to that monthly charge of the MiFis.
And that's a great question, and part of the training and the strategy and the protocols you have to put in is, you can't assign a homework project that says, do a search and come back with the 15 best options if not all students have this. So we, just like everything else, we have to assign work and expectations that students can actually complete. So part of the training is to remind our employees that we have to be thoughtful about the fact that we might be sending a student home with a device, but not all students will have the connectivity at home that they will enjoy while at school. So we'll have to make the appropriate accommodations for those students as we're trying to figure. And there are conversations going on with city and county officials to really enhance the connectivity in this whole area of Montgomery County. It's an important question.
It is. So one of them is a purchasing question. I see this funding source is bond money. That's obviously been approved, but we don't have an exact dollar amount because we don't quite yet know exactly who we need to do this. So
Correct.
So in the future, could we get a report on that expenditure, if
Yes.
that's a problem?
And a lot of this is just the supply chain piece. So once this has been approved, we will go back to our vendors and make sure that everything is, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, because we want to make sure that we're not only getting the best value for those devices, but we also want to make sure that the RMA process, the break fix process, is easy. And so if we have devices that are broken or damaged in any way, we want to make sure that we are able to put a device in a student's hands immediately, because that is going to be their work, right? That's their job right now, is to complete their homework online or participate in class. So we want to make sure that that is as seamless as possible and as easy as possible for our staff.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, any other questions?
Excited.
Yeah, it's a great investment in my opinion, and so there are two recommended motions. Let's take the first on technology infrastructure. Is there a motion to approve the purchases for technology infrastructure?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve purchases over $50,000 for technology infrastructure.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hopkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Kirby, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed and abstained, that motion carries. And secondly, let's make a motion on the technology devices. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve purchases over $50,000 for technology device purchases for staff and students.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Robb seconds. Is there, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed and abstained, both of those motions carry unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Davis Somerville.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're into the information items for tonight's agenda. First information item is the first reading of special programs, compensatory accelerated services, which aligns with Goal 1.
Thank you, Dr. Fuller. This is a board policy change that really broadens the definition for at-risk for our students. It's really a PEMS accounting, and also the opportunity down the road to be ready for any changes that TEA might make in this area, or potentially to pursue grants. The language for this has been vetted through the TASB language and nomenclature, so this really just aligns us once again with TASB. And it is a first reading, and then we'll bring it back to you on October 4th at your workshop.
Okay. Are there any questions on this language? All right, let's move on to action or information item 7B then, which is district and campus improvement plans, which is, I'm kind of one of those weird people that actually enjoy this presentation, so let's do it.
Dr. Fuller, you know, the thing about, it feels like a hot second since we've talked about the process of creating our strategic plan, but our strategic plan really continues to be our compass. It is our North Star. It's how we think about strategic initiatives. It's how we plan for instructional programming, keeping our students, staff safe, using taxpayer dollars well, really investing in our folks, and then also collaborating and communicating with our community. One of the focuses that we talked about early on was to make sure that we didn't create a strategic plan that had one set of expectations for our campuses and departments that were generic to Montgomery ISD, and then something totally different that was responsible to the state. And, you know, good strategic planning really creates alignment, and it creates cross-functionality, not silos. And so we have Dr. Amy Busby here tonight to share with you the portion of strategic planning that directly relates to what we have to turn into TEA with district improvement plans. And then we happen to have an outstanding principal who, I don't know, do we have any schools, Dr. Busby, go from a C to an A here in Montgomery ISD?
I think we might have. We had an outstanding campus, I believe. That was Lincoln Elementary.
Yeah. So we thought, no one better to speak about the great things happening on their campus with a truly strong staff and an amazing community and excellent students to talk about the campus component of doing the campus improvement plan that aligns with the district improvement plan, which aligns to state standards and our strategic initiatives, than the excellent principal at Lincoln Elementary School. So Dr. Busby, the floor is yours.
Well, actually, that first part of my presentation, I think he has summed up just well. So I think we could just skip right on over it. But we're going to go through this pretty quickly because this is just an overview. If you opened all of these attachments in your board book, you saw hundreds of pages of information that you could have combed through. So we're not going to read all of that to you, but we're going to give you the overview of how we got to those hundreds of pages. For your information, this is what the board's responsibility is for the district improvement plan and the campus improvement plans. Your job is to come up with the goals and the district goals, and so that is a process that y'all have gone through. We have adopted those goals, and those are goals that are ongoing for the next couple of years, so we're in good shape there. The second part of that is for you to have oversight and ensure that these plans are being done on the campuses, so that's the purpose of sharing that information with you tonight. And so, as you know, in 2020, 2021 is when we went through the whole process with the strategic plan, and we did develop the board goals. You approved those. Those goals are active through the 23-24 school year. That's how we wrote the strategic plan. So those goals do cover these 5 categories. And so to keep track of our district improvement plan, we do use a program called Plan for Learning. So that's why it looks like this. This is kind of a screenshot of that program, and each one of the goals goes into that more detail and exactly lists out those goal statements. So as he mentioned, Dr. Morrison mentioned that we have our strategic plan and then we have this district improvement plan. Well, the great thing about our strategic plan, that did a lot of our needs assessment. We looked at our district, what is it that we want to focus on, what is it that we need, what kind of strategies do we need to do. So we went through that process. So this plan, the strategic plan, really does reflect, what the community feels, what the parents, students, teachers, staff, It is a joint effort that came together for that plan. So we have the strategic plan. We also have our district improvement plan, which is that state required plan. Two different documents, but they are aligned. So when you look at our district improvement plan, you'll see the same goals that are in our strategic plan. The one thing with our district improvement plan, you may see some additional things pop up as we work through the plan and we figure out, hey, we also want to do this, or maybe this is another strategy we might incorporate. The district improvement plans and the campus improvement plans are ongoing documents. So we're sharing them today, but that doesn't mean that the committee might not meet next month and have a suggestion on how to change or how to improve things. And so the purpose is continuous improvement. So going forward, this is another screenshot from our program. So this is just an example of one of our goals. And so from goal 1 was to provide a challenging curriculum that, of course I can't see, I don't have my glasses, so I'm going to carry this microphone with me. Challenging curriculum that assess individual student achievement and support efforts to ensure excellent academic performance. So that was our goal. So one of our performance objectives was to increase the number of students who are college and career or military ready. And more specifically, our KPI was about that percent of CCMR students that earn those industry-based certifications and increasing those numbers. So that's our performance objective. And then we get to the strategy. So our strategy, then the plan goes into that next level of how are we going to get there. And so it is our CTE director working with our teachers to align and make sure that our courses we are offering align with those certifications that we have to offer. All right, and then as we go through the year, we will do quarterly evaluations. We kind of go back and visit. And in the system, it allows you to mark your progress throughout the year. Are we making progress? Have we accomplished it? Then at the end of the year, you could decide, do we need to continue this? Do we need to modify it? Or are we kind of accomplished this and we're done and we can discontinue that goal? So this allows us that continuous improvement, that continuously going back and reviewing the plan. So in addition to the district improvement plan, each campus also creates a campus improvement plan. Those plans do reflect the same district goals, but in addition to that, then they are looking at their campus specifically and what kind of strategies can they implement that can help us as a district reach our goals. And so to do that, they go through different processes to evaluate their needs and come up with a plan. And so, as Dr. Morrison mentioned, we have a fabulous principal here that had great success on their campus last year. And I really wanted to highlight this campus because she took this process of doing a campus needs assessment and did such a thorough job taking her campus and her leaders through that process. So I really wanted her to highlight those activities on her campus. So let me introduce to you Carrie Ashlark.
Thank you for letting me come share about some of the great things we have going on at Lincoln. Last year was my first year there, my first year as a principal, and we spent a lot of time at the beginning and throughout the year talking about reflecting on who we are, what we believe, what we value, and who we aspire to be. And so our vision that we established collectively was we envision a school where staff and community are dedicated to collaboration, focus on ensuring high levels of learning in a safe and supportive environment where there is a relentless pursuit of continuous learning for all. And it's a lot of words, but we were very intentional in every word we put down in that vision statement. And each of the decisions we make on our campus and all of the processes we go through, we try to align with that vision statement, including the development of our campus improvement plan. And which button do I push on? The circle one. I'll have to join you there, Dr. Fuller, on the technology one. Oh, the
struggle is real, Carrie.
Side one. Okay, there we go. So again, almost everything we do in collaboration with our stakeholders or representatives of our stakeholder group. And developing our campus improvement plan, it was a collaborative work towards our common purpose. And again, we involved representatives from each of our stakeholder groups in creating that campus needs assessment. I was fortunate enough, Dr. Busby shared with me a training about the collaborative campus needs assessment process. In January, I attended that, and from there, that really helped guide our process that we went through. We looked at a variety of data sources in this process, And through the process, it actually met requirements and recommendations for several programs. And then again, we have that culture of continuous improvement that we referenced in our vision statement. And I'm sure you're familiar with the continuous improvement cycle. It's something we work through every year. So we started in January with identifying our local needs. And then through the spring, we selected relevant evidence-based interventions, created our campus improvement plan for implementation, implementing it now, and then we get to the spring, and even now we're evaluating and reflecting, and we go through the whole process again. We're never done. And these are some of the statutory requirements that we fulfilled in our CNA process, from Title I, Part A, Title I, Part C, Title IV, Point A, and then it's strongly recommended for Title II and III. Each of those programs has specific stakeholders that they require or recommend that you involve in the process, and we made sure to do that as well. And this is the process we went through. So in January, we reviewed the purpose and outcomes of conducting the CNA. So it's something that our campus had not done on more of a global level. I say global, but within our school community. It was something really done more by our leadership team in the past, or our campus advisory committee. Every staff member was involved in our process. We involved our PTO, we had it in our newsletter for parents to provide feedback, and we involved students in part of it. So we established focus area committees for each area that we looked at in our CNA. We actually had already pre-established some task forces that aligned with the district goals, and we used those to kind of establish those committees. And then those committees then determined which types of data we were going to collect, and then they analyzed that data. That was a very long process, and I can tell you if there's a piece of data out there about Lincoln Elementary, we looked at it. We dug very deep because we wanted to know everything we could about our strengths and areas we needed to grow. And then those committees took all that data that they gathered and dug up, and they determined what areas were priority, what do we have to fix right now, what do we have to address, and then what are we really doing well. And they summarized those needs, and then we presented that to our campus advisory committee, and we developed our campus improvement plan in May and June. So it was kind of lengthy, but it was very thorough, and it really, you'll notice when you look at the campus improvement plans, ours was probably the shortest because we took out all the stuff that we already do every day, because that's just who we are. But we try to keep in there the extra things and the things that addressed our needs. These are the focus areas that the CNA requires us to look at. So we gather data on demographics, our student achievement data over the past several years, our school culture and climate, staff quality, recruitment and retention, curriculum instruction and assessment, our parent, family, and community engagement, our school context and organization, and technology. So there are 8 different areas, and we already had 5 different focus areas, committees, task forces that we had established. We had our guiding coalition, behavior and safety, which ties to goal 2, recruit and retain, which ties to goal 4, the family and community engagement, and then also the best instructional practice and data analysis. Those are our task forces we had throughout the year, and they naturally aligned with some of those data pieces that we were looking for. And here are some of the highlights of what we found. So here are some of the strengths we found, and you'll note, I'm not going to read that to you, but a lot of the things you'll see over and over is growth, expected or accelerated growth, increased scores. We scored higher than the district average on some things, some areas where we improved in performance. One of the things we're most proud of is that 4th bullet from the bottom, where it says progress in closing the gaps. Like Dr. Morrison mentioned, we moved from a C to an A rating, of an overall rating of a 92, but that particular section on closing the gaps, we actually scored a 98. And so that's one thing that we really took a lot of pride in. There's still some room to grow. We're not at the 100 yet, but it's one area that we took a lot of pride in. And then also, we looked at the survey data. A couple of those bullets are from the survey data that we did in last fall. 94% of our parents and 100% of our staff perceived our school as safe, which ties to goal 2. We have highly qualified staff, and then a lot of our parents perceived encouragement to attend school-sponsored activities. So, like I said, we looked at a lot of things. But there were areas that we found that were growth opportunities. And you'll see the first one is one that I'm sure you've heard a lot about recently, is that attendance rate. We were a few years ago at 98, and last year we were down to 94. So that is one of the goals that we set that we wanted to work on. We found that our student performance in science, specifically on STAR, was not where we want it to be. We found some opportunities to provide differentiated instruction to better reach students in several of our subpopulations on our campus. And looking at our data, we consistently found there were 3 subpopulations we needed to really work on. And then increase extracurricular activity that also came from the survey we did in the fall, and then increase or better improve our parent communication. So we took those concerns and then we developed our strategies. These are just some of the strategies we included in our campus improvement plan that were intended to target those areas that we need to work on. So that's really it. What questions do you have for us? That was fast and furious.
No, I don't really have any questions, but people ask me, how did Lincoln do it, a lot. And I'm going to refer them to that section of the video from here on out. That was a great overview, and you guys have been very intentional, and I commend you for that. So on behalf of the community, on behalf of the board, I'd like to say a sincere congratulations and thank you. So.
Wait, Gary.
Uh-oh.
What I love about this amazing principal is when you ask her all the good things about what's happening at Lincoln, she doesn't talk about the A rating too much. And she doesn't talk about STAR performance. That's an indicator. It's not the indicator. What I appreciate is when I visited on the first day of school and I stopped over at Lincoln and I said, what do you want to do? And she goes, where would you like to go? And I said, where do you want to take me? And she goes, I will take you to any class. And for a principal, that's a testimony to the school. And what I love about Carrie is she will tell you it's about her teachers and it's about her support staff. She will tell you it's about her parents, and she will always focus on the students and the community. But I just want to publicly say principals matter. They matter a lot. And great principals have great schools, and we have a great principal at Lincoln Elementary School.
And a great school. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, any other questions? All right. I think we're good. Thank you, Dr. Busby. Any questions on the monthly financial statement? Since we did recognize the finance department earlier, I do want to recognize one report there is slightly different. I think it's improved, the banking report. Thank you, Mr. Lynn, for that. And if there are no additional questions, then we are at the end of our agenda, and I would like to adjourn the meeting.